simple as that. It's a cloud computing service provided by Microsoft. So this session is essentially to make some revelations to you. My assumption is that you're key decision makers in your business, and what are some of the ways that you can leverage Azure, to help achieve cost savings in your business. Okay. So I'll talk briefly about path to the modern business. Quickly over Azure overview, some key business solutions that you can leverage on the cloud, and of course the big question at the end of it, why Microsoft? Please, if you have a question during this session, you can signify by raising your hand. I immediately will call you because I can't see when you raise your hand. I immediately will call you and can ask your questions, or you can just wait till the end of the session so I can just take any questions that you may have.
Sorry, someone says you need to be a little bit audible, I guess. But I can hear you clearly from here. Maybe just the volume.
Okay, I'm trying to speak as loud as I can. Okay, let's see if I can readjust my mic. Is it much better? Am I audible, very audible now, loud and clear?
It's, yeah.
All right. Okay, so the modern business, what does this mean? It means businesses that are focusing on delivering what their core operations is about, while not being distracted by other arms or other parts of the businesses. Like they can outsource certain things to other third parties while they focus on making money or making profit for the business, right? And some of the things that you'd consider to be labeled as a modern business is that you want to be able to grow efficiently, because you don't expect that where you were in year 1 is where you'll be in year 5, right? So you want to be able to grow efficiently. And of course, you want to be able to grow your customers as well. You want to be able to safeguard your business, and you want to be able to run your business from anywhere, especially in this climate that we are now, due to the COVID pandemic that we all suffered, about 2 years ago, which really showed that people had to work remotely from the traditional way of reporting to the office premises every morning, and then going back at the end of the day. So this can really allow you to be able to run your business anywhere, be able to hire anybody from anywhere, as members of your staff, and be able to get work done quickly and efficiently. They don't have to be resident in Nigeria. They can be in other parts of the world and be able to, contribute their own quota to ensuring that the business is a success. And this is what the cloud offers, right? To grow efficiently, to help you enhance and grow your customers, to be able to safeguard your business, and to be able to run your business from anywhere, and have your staff have access to your solutions and applications, and be able to work effectively as well from anywhere. Now I'm going to highlight 3 key benefits here. One is cost savings, and then there's scalability and security and maintenance. As a serious business, you should be looking at these 3 benefits. Most especially if your business is dependent on foreign exchange, sourcing forex and using it to acquire materials or whatever that your business needs. We all agree that the foreign exchange rate in the past few months has been crazy, from 300, 400 to about $750 today. It can be crazy to manage business the way that it used to be several years ago, when it was far lesser than this. And as a business, you should be looking at ways that you can save costs, right? Especially if you are a stakeholder or you make key decisions that can affect that. You can help to help the business save cost. The other part of it is scalability. Of course, you expect that you probably started with 20 customers. In about 3 years, you have up to about 1,000 customers, and you want to have the ability to scale, right? By scaling, I mean you most likely have some solutions or applications that customers are accessing. And then if it's not able to scale, where it was able to serve 20 customers efficiently in the beginning, it won't be so robust anymore to be able to cater for 1,000 users. So even if you're not there yet, you will get there one day, and you have to start thinking of how you be able to scale to meet the demands of your users in future. And the cloud offers this. So most businesses just use third-party web hosting companies to host their applications, and they don't think about factors such as scaling up. If this hits you at a wrong time, customers will begin to complain and say, oh, your application has become very slow and non-responsive. Yeah. Nothing has changed from the underlying infrastructure and the specification. It's just that the number of users has scaled up over time, and there are users who are concurrently, making requests to your application and expecting to be served within microseconds with responses received, right? So usually what a business will do is, when it gets to that stage, the business will want to acquire more infrastructure. That is assuming that the business has an internal data center on-premise. Then you'd have to invest on infrastructure, acquiring new servers, acquiring new storage appliances, upscaling your disk storage, and all that. That can be quite capital intensive. And because we don't manufacture such equipment or infrastructure in Nigeria, you have to order for it, which is why I said it can be painful when you have to pay huge amounts of money to acquire a server. Let's say a server these days is about $3,000 there. You have to invest in that, and it's not a one-time purchase. You have to also think about paying for recurring cost of maintenance and support. You have to think of the manpower that will be able to manage such an infrastructure. So it's a whole lot of burden, on the business that, ordinarily this money should have been diverted elsewhere to enhance the operation of the business to meet the customers' needs. But unfortunately, this resources, this capital is being diverted into infrastructure. And then lastly, you have to think about security and maintenance. You'd agree with me that, there have been a lot of cases of hacking, of ransomware, malware, and the cost of these solutions as well, from notable names. The cost has also grown because we are not a US-based economy. It's Naira, but we have to purchase from people who have these solutions, security solutions, and we have to pay for $80. like I said earlier, it can be painful when you have to pay out of the nose for a solution that ordinarily shouldn't, take too much from the business to pay for, especially if you're a small business and you are hoping you have a vision of being, a conglomerate in future. So let me quickly just give you some overview about Azure, which is a Microsoft computing service. So they have data centers all around the world, right? From the Americas to Europe, to the South Americas, to um, um, Australia, Russia, China, Germany, Portugal, and even South Africa and Nigeria. Unfortunately, that is the only data center that they have in Africa. One would have expected that they would have set up shop in Nigeria, but I think you and I would understand and agree that, it could be because of the nature of this kind of outfit that requires 24/7 power supply and security. Nigeria may not be a good location to set up now. Maybe in the future, if things improve, we would have a Microsoft data center in Nigeria as well. But for now, we only have in South Africa, right? So being on that platform, you are guaranteed 24/7, 365 days of the year support from Microsoft specialists. Currently, Azure has over 1 billion customers on their platform, hosting about 20 million businesses in over 90 markets worldwide. And you have 280 years of combined industry experience in personnel who are skilled in infrastructure, security, product development, and global operations. So wherever you feel you need to deploy your solution, Microsoft has got it covered. And compared to other cloud providers, they have the highest number of data centers in the world. So the cloud itself is ideal when you need to ensure that you want to get your applications up and running fast. You want to be able to scale instantly, right? And what this offers also is that you only pay for what you use and you can leverage enterprise level security. So let me give you a scenario where your business has just come up with a fabulous idea of providing a solution to your customers, right? Or you're looking to catch new customers with this innovative solution that you've come up with. The traditional way ordinarily would be that you have your own small data center or you're hosting somewhere like a co-location site. Ordinarily, it will take some time, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks before you, if you are the head of IT, before you get approval from the business to acquire certain infrastructure in terms of servers and storage appliances, network switches, and so on. Now you get a third-party vendor to supply you. They tell you it will take another 2 or 3 months thereabout before it is shipped to Nigeria. And when it gets here, it will take maybe another 2 or 3 weeks before it is cleared, at the port. Then you transport it to your data center or your office space where you have your infrastructure. And then you would take time to set it up, take time to install stuff, take time to ensure you have adequate bandwidth from your ISP. So all in all, you're looking at about 3 to 4 months. What if you had a competition, or you had a competitor in the market who coincidentally also is thinking about a similar solution? And they're already jumping, or they're already utilizing Azure. Now, What has taken you and your business to get that solution up and running in 4 months? This person, the competitor, can get it up and running within days. And who do you think will get to the customer faster, to the new customer? I think that speaks for itself. The person who is able to get this app running and begins marketing the solution aggressively will get to the new customer and might even be able to steal some of the customers that you have. So as a business, you want to be proactive. Everything these days is jet fast. Everything is going at the speed of lightning, especially because technology is enabling a lot of things in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning. You're probably your innovative solution is trying to tell customers that we can help you predict stuff, we can help you forecast stuff, we can do this, we can automatically do this by leveraging on machine learning and AI. But if it takes you 4 months to get to the market, I mean, that may not spell very well for the business in terms of trying to catch new customers, enable new, acquire more revenue, and get more profit at the end of the day. So this is what the cloud is offering, right? Getting your apps up and running very fast, being able to scale. As soon as you notice that your customer base has increased, with just a click of a button on Azure, you can scale up your resources that fast. And then your users will not even have any idea that something is happening on the back end. All they are seeing is that when they click, they get responses almost instantly. And the beauty of the cloud, being specific to Azure, is that you pay only for what you use. You can jump on Azure today without paying anything, right? Zero cost, jumping on Azure without paying zilch. You only pay for what you've consumed at the end of every month. And this cost is transparent from the beginning. You will know the estimated cost of what you're expected to pay at the end of the month. So you've already budgeted for that, and you can even budget 12 months ahead, where you're paying about 3,000 for just one server. You're paying probably 25 or 30 or 40% of that to host your applications on the cloud in a year. And you're not thinking about, paying for extra support, maintenance, all that is taken care of. And you can imagine, what kind of relief this is for customers who are already leveraging Azure as their cloud platform of choice. So there are 4 key solutions that I'll be talking to you about. Some of you may have backup solutions. Some of you may have disaster recovery solutions. Some of you may also have some storage appliances on premise that you're keeping data. But the truth is that because a lot of businesses are not able to spend, critical data that they're supposed to keep for about a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, because there's some organizations that have to comply with certain regulations from the regulatory body to keep their data for like 4 years, for legal evidences and all that. You're not able to do that because you don't have enough storage, and if you are mandated to do that, then you're thinking of buying new storage appliances because your existing storage appliance is already full and you can't delete because the retention period has not yet been reached. So you are keeping very powerful hardware for just keeping data that is redundant, that is not doing anything. So why don't you outsource that and just store that data and keep it on Azure? Right? I can tell you categorically that storage on Azure is very, very cheap. You can store gigabytes of data, you can store terabytes of data, even petabytes of data. You can keep it for up to 99 years. I mean, it's it's up to the business. If it's the business policy to have their data stored for that long, Azure doesn't care. You can keep that data on the cloud for as long as possible, right? And then, of course, you can access this data from anywhere, right? So you probably need to have access to that data when you travel out of the country. You know, that data is available for you from the cloud anywhere. And of course, you can use it with your choice of operating system, you know, your Windows server, your Windows desktop, your Linux, your Macs, your Mac OS. Yeah, but it doesn't discriminate. You can easily even map it as a drive to your machine, and it will look like it's a local storage on your system. And you can have all your data there, from flat files to video files to image files to audio files. You know, whatever kind of files you generate, it doesn't discriminate. You can keep them there, right? And of course, have access to them. You can, maybe there are legal documents that you need to store away and keep somewhere. You can put it there, email, repository, or whatever. You can store it there. And you know, you only pay for what you use at the end of every month. You're not making a major investment upfront. Also, there's backup. Azure has a backup solution called Azure Backup. Um, there's a backup software that is free and downloadable from Microsoft websites. Very powerful. It can compare with a lot. Simply just purchasing it and paying for the license. But already with Azure Backup, that software is free. And you can also leverage the cloud to keep your the data that you have on premise, to store it for the long term on the cloud. So the scenario, you know, or the traditional way has always been, you would acquire a machine for backup purposes or use a virtual machine. You will get your storage appliance where you just want to keep data that you are backing up, right? And this is usually for the short term, maybe a week, 2 weeks. You want to keep it on disk, you know, so that you can more recent data can come in. But of course, you need all that data to be able to recover in case an issue happens. Maybe there's a file is corrupt, or there's an attack on your system and you need to recover back. So what businesses have been doing is to have what we call tape backup media, where after writing to your local storage, it will now subsequently write to your tape media. That is another cost, right? So you have this tape media that you're paying support for, right? You're paying maintenance for annually. And of course, talking about the tape cartridges, you know, you have to buy it and you have to change it from time to time. It has proven in the last few years that they are not as reliable as we thought they were, especially if the business does not do a periodic backup, restore and recovery of what they've backed up months before. So we've seen businesses who have relied on this approach and they end up, you know, being burnt at the end of the day because of this approach. But with the cloud and using Azure Backup, you know, you can back up locally to your disk for the short term and then back up that data to the cloud and keep it there for as long as you want. You know, it's very easy to restore it. If you don't have the local backup on your disk anymore, you can easily record that backup from the cloud and have it restored on premise. Or you can choose to restore whatever you have onto the Azure cloud and have it running, you know, as a virtual machine. And of course, you can redirect the business to point to the virtual machine running on Azure now. And you know, the business will be up and running within minutes. So with backup, you can backup to a secondary location. You can quickly restore your files when they are accidentally deleted or lost. And of course, you may choose to retain files and data for legal requirements, especially, like I said earlier, if you are mandated to do so by a regulatory body in your industry. Also, there's disaster recovery, where you are protecting your servers and you want to have your business come back online as soon as possible. You know, like the name implies, you want to be able to recover immediately after a disaster occurs. So disasters can happen. There can be fire outbreak, there can be theft, there can be natural disasters. You know, fortunately for us in this part of the world, we've not had natural disasters like earthquake, you know, or flooding, typhoon and hurricane and all that we see happening in some other parts of the world. Let's hope that it doesn't happen, you know, but you never can tell. Climate changes are happening, things can start occurring, and you want to be proactive enough to be able to say you are ready in case, you know, disasters happen. You want to be able to show that you get the business back up and running, right? So what this means is that if your primary site or your data center that is running within your premises, you know, or another location within the zone that you are, something happens to it, the business does not have to wait for that to come back up. You simply fail over the business, you know, to your replica or identical applications that are running elsewhere or in a secondary site. And this secondary site, you know, in this case will be Azure. So Azure has all the infrastructure that you need on that site to be able to host the applications that you have. And, you know, there's an SLA that there's a 99.99999% SLA that your data is available for you, you know, whenever a disaster happens and you need to fail over. Microsoft is giving you that guarantee, and their SLA is online to that, right? But if you say, for whatever reason, you don't want to leverage Azure as a secondary site, okay, so let's look at the business actually recognizes and understand the fact that they need to have a disaster recovery, you know, solution in place. And so if you are thinking about that, then you need to think of setting up a data center somewhere, right? And that means that you'll be talking about erecting or buying or renting a building somewhere. You're thinking of power 24/7. You're thinking of cooling. You're thinking of security. You're thinking of manpower to handle that. You can imagine. And you're thinking of the hardware that you would install in that data center, because usually the hardware that you have on your secondary site usually must be identical to the one that you have on your primary site, so that they work, you know, seamlessly and flawlessly be together. They have the same configuration, they have the same spec. So you are sure that by the time you run your application on the other side, it will run the way, you know, it should run as it is running on your primary site, right? So you can imagine how much the business will spend there in terms of acquiring and putting all this in place. But that is the old way. People are adopting Azure as the secondary site for their disaster recovery, right? When you fail over within 2 maximum 10 minutes, the your applications are online and available to those who have, you know, have the required permission to be able to access or utilize those applications, right? And then when the applications are back up and running, business is also back up and running quickly. Yeah, so you can host your applications if you're utilizing third-party web hosting provider. Usually, most of them don't provide the kind of security that you require to protect your workload that is situated over there. They won't provide you with application firewalls. They won't provide you with um, out of the box software, that will protect your, assuming you're using a dedicated server somewhere or a virtual private server, you'd have to purchase that and install it there. But Microsoft has a lot of security solutions in place that you can use to protect your workload on the cloud. From your web applications to your virtual machines running Microsoft Defender for Cloud, web application firewalls, and there are also third-party firewalls that you can leverage if you decide not to use Microsoft's own solutions that are available. There are other vendors, there are Sophos, there are FortiGate, and some other solutions that you can bring your own license, and just deploy it on Azure, and that application will protect what you have. So the Azure Cloud Security, as a small business, right, you can get the same level of protection that Microsoft that is being used by Microsoft enterprise customers. So Azure does not discriminate. Microsoft does not discriminate. That you're a small business does not mean that you can't protect your workload the way larger, enterprises and big corporations around the world are using, right? Those same security solutions that are available for them is also available for you to use, right? So it's not limited by organization size. That solution is available whenever you need it. Just turn it on and it will be able to protect your workload 24/7, 365 days of the year, right? So by hosting your applications on Azure, you can reduce or eliminate hardware cost and maintenance. You can get database portability across on-premise and cloud with compatible virtualization. And no application changes required. Simply virtualize what you have. If you're looking at, if your applications are being hosted on your server, we can easily do what we call a migration of what you have to the cloud. What we call a lift and shift. It could be virtual, it could be physical, virtual, it could be Hyper-V, it could be VMware. Just do an exact copy or replication what you have, sync it to Azure, then turn it on there, and then have your users accessing the application that they need to have access to. And maybe not your staff only, maybe you have external customers who need to access the same application. Maybe it's an ERP solution, right? So you can easily host that on the cloud, and it's very easy to just list what you have so that you're not thinking about installing the application again, the configuration, especially if you used a vendor to help you deploy that solution in the beginning. So you don't have to go through that stress of calling the vendor back, right? So there's a solution in place called Azure Migrate that would help lift what you have exactly the way it is, and then just turn it into a virtual machine that will be run on Azure. And of course, you have all the access that you would have just as if it's running on premise. So that is also available for you. Like I mentioned earlier, you can back up your data. So the big question for every business is your data backed up? If it's not backed up, the question is, why is it not backed up? If it's backed up, are you enjoying the solution? I mean, is it cost effective, right, to have it running on premise? Or would you rather have the business enjoy up to 60% savings or more by leveraging Azure as the platform where you can have long-term data backed up? So many businesses lose critical data when their primary data storage becomes damaged or files are accidentally deleted, right? If your files are accidentally deleted, you say, oh, I mistakenly deleted it, and the file is no longer on the local disk. Let me go and get my tape media. You try to recover from it, and you find out that the tape media, is damaged, or has reached the end of life, or it has a problem, so you're not able to recover that data. And if it's a very critical data that is required for, business operation or something, you can be sure that that is the end of it. You can't go further. So why don't you have a copy of that, in a data somewhere that is stored on storage that is optimized to help you ensure that your data is backed up safely and effectively, and of course, securely as well. So you can get your simple, reliable backup in the cloud with Microsoft Azure. This will help you avoid capital expense for storage hardware and media, which I mentioned earlier. Of course, you can also scale up or down as needed and only pay for what you use, right? So if your data is just 2 gigabytes, it's 2 gigabytes you pay for, right? You don't need to buy 5 terabytes of storage and you're only consuming 2 gigabytes and you are saying you are paying for 5 terabytes. No, it doesn't work like that. You only pay for what you use, right? So when it scales up to 5 gigabytes, you're only paying for 5 gigabytes. When it scales up to 10, you're only paying for 10 gigabytes, right? So you're not limited to, say, purchasing this amount of storage at the beginning, and that is what you're paying for every month. So there is that flexibility to pay for what you use, right? And also you can get enterprise grade data protection, which Azure is guaranteeing. For Azure backup, the story is there. You can recover data in case of disasters. You can recover data in case of data loss. It's very easy, very simple to install and configure the Azure backup, your on-premise appliance. This is very ideal for small businesses, departmental business needs. And you can use the Microsoft Azure backup software. So you can see the architecture, right? Very easy to set up, and then just register it with your Azure account, and you can achieve all that can be set up within 2 to 3 days max. Reduce unexpected downtime with having a disaster recovery solution in place. So statistics show that 40% of businesses hit by disaster never reopen, right? So you have an insurance policy for your business, but do you have any insurance policy for data that is gone? Even if you have some kind of insurance, data is data. It's a unique piece of information that is generated by the system or by your users, right? And if you don't have it safely stored or replicated somewhere, then that's it. There's no way you can get it back. And data drives the business. Once that data is unavailable, like this page says, your business may never be able to reopen, right? So building and hosting a disaster recovery solution is too expensive for most small and mid-sized businesses, right? But with Azure, like we said, just pay for only what you use. You don't need to invest in hardware infrastructure. So utilizing Azure as your secondary site, you have the peace of mind that you're able to recover, your business, even if disaster strikes. So you are covered and you can get your business back up and running in minutes. So the solution that Microsoft has provided for this is called Azure Site Recovery, right? This just involves deploying some agents on your on-premise, configuring the Azure part of it, let it register with what you have on premise, and then just begin migrating, or replicating what you have. So changes that are made on your infra, or your database server or your application server that are generating logs that are important, changes that are made are, immediately replicated to the cloud, right? So you have your recovery point objective near zero, where if something happens just now, you can be sure that you almost have your latest data available, replicated on the cloud, such that when you fail over, that data is available for your use. right? With this, you can, like I also mentioned earlier, avoid capital expense and reduce operational cost. Also, you have the business will have greater peace of mind. And also you'll be able to do testing and monitoring of what you have on the Azure side of it to ensure that replication, is going smoothly the way it should. So disaster recovery in the cloud with Microsoft Azure Site Recovery, use Azure as your DR site, automate VM protection and replication. You can get remote health monitoring, customize your recovery plans, no impact recovery plan testing. That means you can do testing on the cloud without, you can do a test scenario, right, on the cloud without it affecting what you have on premise, right? So from time to time as a business, you can say, okay, maybe once or twice every quarter, let's do a test recovery or a test failover. That test failover will show you what will happen exactly when a real disaster occurs and you do a failover. So you have the peace of mind that what you have done a test for, you can get it up and running. If you need or if there is a disaster that occurs and you fail over, you will get the same environment up and running because you've been doing prior testing to that, and doesn't affect what you have running on premise. So it is non-impacting. And then you can have orchestrated recovery of shared applications as well. So you can see in the architecture there, just a simple Windows server, Linux server in your primary site. And then Azure will do the orchestration and replication to the cloud using the Azure Site Recovery solution. So you're not paying anything in terms of maybe you're supposed to pay one-off fee for site recovery. No, it's available. So there's a monthly fee for that, which I think is about $20 to $25 per every machine that you want to protect every month, right? And then of course your storage, the disk that you are protecting. So I mean, if you compare that cost to your business or your organization going to set up a disaster recovery site entirely on, they are way, way, way miles apart. So we have customers who are leveraging this solution and they're enjoying it. Some who used to have on-premise um, uh, disaster recovery within the same organization itself, but on another floor, or have it at the branch office, or have it at, a co-location site somewhere, have migrated to the cloud, and they're enjoying, immense savings from there, up to 60, 70%, of what they've been spending when they were utilizing another site apart from the cloud. So on-premise versus the cloud. Just permit me to quickly just highlight some differences here. Like I mentioned earlier, capital expense. If you're on premise, you have to think about certain infrastructure, your hardware appliance, your rack space, your power, cooling, etc. For the cloud, you're not purchasing any hardware. So cost of entry is very low. In fact, it's zero. The cost of entry is zero. Just get your Azure tenant and your subscription available, use it, and get your bill at the end of every month. That is it. There's zero barrier to entry. IT staff on premise, you need to have highly skilled IT department, but for the cloud, it's lean. Microsoft already has specialists, who are taking care of the backend, right? So maybe all you just need is just one Azure administrator that will help you take care of things. Also, we can also help guide you on that journey as a business, Lotus Beta, to help guide you on that journey, on the cloud while you are able to stand on your feet. So we are there to provide support for you to enjoy your small quote unquote investment leveraging Azure Cloud. So here, your IT department is very lean. Installation fees for on-premise is very high. Your hardware, national fee for your staff. Cloud, there's no need to install any hardware. Just very simple differences, and you can see on the one side is high, on the other side is low. And of course, what does this translate to? Is cost. Licensing, license fees for software maintenance, operational costs for support and upgrade. On the cloud is pay-as-you-go model. Pay for what you use. Yeah, that's all. You will see it before you even start consuming. It will tell you, for this service, you're only going to pay $10. And is that $10 you will get to pay at the end of the month if you are running it 24/7? For the whole 31 days or for 730 hours, that is the cost you will pay, and it's very transparent. Maintenance and updating features and functionality are maintained internally, but updates are maintained by the specialist in the backend, by the Microsoft Azure specialist that provide security, infrastructure maintenance. Everything is done in the backend. You just come and claim your own space and enjoy the service that Azure has to offer. Total cost of ownership on-premise is high. On the cloud, it's very low. All right, so the difference is there. Disaster recovery, on-premise redundancy is very expensive and usually afforded by large enterprises. But as a small business as well, there's no excuse, or a startup, there's no excuse. The cloud offers solution that can cater to your need, by offering redundancy at a very low cost. So what does Azure offer? A very large ecosystem, from operating system, Windows, Linux, SUSE, different flavors of Linux, from Ubuntu to SUSE Linux. You have the Windows Server operating system from 2012 to 2016, 19, 22. You have databases, managed databases from SQL Server to MongoDB to MySQL to MariaDB to IPM. They're all available for your use. If you have internal in-house developers, they've integrated with WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Node.js, Python, DevOps solutions, Azure DevOps, Eclipse, Visual Studio, Puppet, and even GitHub Actions. It's a very popular solution being used by DevOps today. Microsoft acquired GitHub a while ago, so they are really a lot of features have been added, and they've really integrated into Azure environment. Such that if you have a new code, you go to your GitHub, you upload your code to your GitHub repo, integrate it to your Azure infrastructure, maybe app service or virtual machine or whatever, and just build and deploy your code there, and you have it up and running ASAP. And then you have application templates across all these that you see here, MongoDB, Couchbase, Kafka, that you can simply just deploy on Azure virtual machines with a public IP address and make it available to whoever you need to make it available. So it's very large. It supports the largest ecosystem among all the cloud providers that are available. You have AWS, you have Google Compute, you have VMware. So Microsoft supports open source solution. They don't discriminate, right? So you can bring your open source solutions and deploy it on Azure. It's fine. The service they are providing is the infrastructure. Bring whatever code you want to bring whatever open source solution you want to bring to Azure. It will run effectively, and without any issues with performance and reliability. The traditional data center that you have, the business takes responsibility for all of this, right from the hardware to virtualization to OS to network to firewall to the data itself and the application. For Microsoft Azure, takes care of, so you will take care of the operating system, the network firewall rules, right? So what that hardware means is that Microsoft provides that hardware and virtualization at the back end. So you would come in and say, oh, I want to deploy Linux on my VM. I want to deploy Windows Server on my VM, right? And then the virtual network, you configure your IP subnets, firewall rules, who should have access, what IPs should be restricted, everything is in your control, right? So there are certain places that you go on the portal. By the time you begin to get familiar with it, to say, I want to deploy this virtual network with this subnet. I want to deploy an IP address space. I want to deploy firewall rules. I don't want access to um, Windows remote desktop port from anywhere on the internet. I don't want access to my secure shell port. I don't want to just grant everybody access to my file transfer protocol. I want to access it. I want to give permission to only users, or staff who need to upload stuff to the virtual machines, right? So you will take care of all those firewall rules, right? And then, of course, whatever application you want to bring there, it's up to you. Cloud services, which is the managed one, right? Where you just bring your applications, Microsoft will take care of the OS. So what we just give you is you don't need to deploy the OS or whatever OS it is. They just give you access to the infrastructure, username and password. Log in, upload your data, install, configure what you need to configure, and release it so people can have access to your application. Websites on Azure, you have your web applications, right? You can bring in your PHP application code, your Node.js, your React, your Java, JavaScript, .NET application. Just bring in your code and deploy it to a managed infrastructure called website, which is built specifically to host websites, right? And over here, you're able to set up scaling. You can start with a small config today. When you monitor, right, you can see that, over the last few days, it looks like the CPU utilization is jumping over 80%. The memory or the RAM is jumping over 80%. So you can have automation in place that once it sees that certain rules have applied or certain thresholds have been crossed, it will automatically spin up additional instances, to deal with the new demand of your users, concurrent users that are trying to use your application. So that's the way of the future. You don't need to wait for getting to a certain level with your database before you adopt Azure to be able to host your website. Very easy to store, is applicable. You can use your custom domain, point it to your Azure application that is running. You can set up your firewall, like I said, for security. You can look to scale up in the future to meet demands of new customers or new applications that you have, where you have a lot of customers who are concurrently utilizing that application. And then, of course, you can run your mobile applications on there. So if you have mobile applications where users can install the mobile applications on their mobile phone, you can do that. Like Azure also caters for that. And of course, like I said, the website, you can have a web version of your mobile application running, where people who choose not to utilize your application on mobile can do so on their laptops or their desktop, just calling up your application on the web browser. So the entire thing is that, from the left to the right, from traditional center, there is more focus on your application as you go from left to right. And the big question, why Microsoft? I mean, everybody has an experience with one Microsoft solution or the other. Microsoft has been there since the early 80s, or late 70s. They've been there providing you solutions for your servers, for your user client systems, Office applications, so I mean, they are a familiar name that, a lot of people grew up with, that you are aware. So you can imagine that they have the capability to deliver on whatever solution that they are providing to you. And in this case, we are talking about the cloud. So We have a massive number of customers and businesses, like I highlighted earlier, that are jumping, and more businesses are jumping to the cloud every day. While Microsoft is a single point of support for infrastructure, for their operating system, services, and applications. So the same Microsoft that will provide support for your Windows Server OS or your Exchange application they also have specialists and experts that will provide you support, while you are on their Azure platform. They have the experience and they have the credibility, right? And they have a single platform for all your cloud needs, be it infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. And of course, they are the best cloud platform for Microsoft workloads. So if you have Windows servers running on-premise, who do you think will give you the best bet in terms of cost for your Windows licenses or your SQL Server licenses? It has to be Microsoft, because they are the owners of this software, so they can afford to bring down that cost for you when you're on the platform, right? So you will get the best package, for your Microsoft workloads if you deploy, if and when you deploy it on the Azure platform. So who are we? We're a Microsoft CSP direct partner, and we have lots of customers in the SMB, small businesses, corporate and enterprise space, that we've helped migrate them to Azure, or we've helped deploy new green solutions to the cloud, right? We have very many certified engineers, consultants in Azure, as well as other platform, Modern Work, M365, and so on. We've achieved a lot of competencies in these areas that you see here: gold competencies in cloud, data analytics platform, data center messaging, cloud platform, and etc. Our goal is to provide our customers with the best value. We provide high-level expertise with long-term commitment, and gain in-depth knowledge of their business, tailoring specific guidance to the way their organization uses technology. We have certified experts, like I said, who are able to provide you with the support that you require. And so with this, at the end of the day, what's our proposal to you? So we are saying that you should take that big step, that decision to jump on the cloud today. And our proposal is to, help you migrate whatever stuff, or help you migrate your website from wherever it is, or your web application from wherever it is into Azure, right? So you can get the value that many other businesses are getting from Azure today. Or if you're looking at backup solutions, we're happy to help you implement that. Or disaster recovery, we're also happy to help you implement that. Or storage as well, like I mentioned, you need to keep some kind of data. We're happy to help you implement that solution. And we are saying that we'll help you implement at zero cost to you, right? And we're saying that, I mentioned earlier that you would need to pay for what you've consumed at the end of the month. So our proposal to you is that we are ready to pay for whatever you consume in the first month, right? After we have migrated you or your application to the cloud, we're happy to give you that first month on our account, right? Microsoft is not giving us free credit. As a company, we are investing that to say, come on board, enjoy the services, and we set you up and running at the end of the month, first month. You won't be getting any bill from us, but we are hoping that you commit to, paying for subsequent months when you see and realize the value that you're getting from Azure. And I think that is it. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be happy to take whatever questions you have now. Thank you so much for your time. You just signify with a raise of hand if you have any question. Any question from anyone? If you're unable to speak into your mic, and I'll be happy to answer that question. Okay, John, please go ahead. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, John. I can hear you.
Yeah, good. I just want to clarify. So if we want to go for this solution, so in terms of operating system, Microsoft will take care of that. Hmm?
Yes. So usually, okay. So if you want to host, if you want to have a machine with Windows server or OS Cloud, so usually you bring your own license. But in this case, what Azure is offering is that the operating system is not free, but you only be paying, um, you only be paying, uh, you'll be paying monthly, right?
Okay.
So you'll be paying monthly. You'll be paying along with the compute cost of the VM. That's all. So it might, based on the size, it might come down to about um, maybe $10 or less. Yeah, about.
Okay. So in terms of
You don't need
patches
to
and
go
some
to
other,
Microsoft app.
so in terms of patches updates, I don't need to bother myself about that.
So there are two things. There's infrastructure as a service, where Microsoft will give you the virtual machine, right?
Do that
And
myself.
of course, you deploy your operating system on there. So if it's a virtual machine, you are responsible for the patching, right, and security of it. But there are managed services where Microsoft will take care of that backend for you, right? So
Okay.
it's not the virtual machine in this case. Virtual machine is infrastructure as a service. They give you that VM, you know, you create your virtual machine on Azure, you specify your username and password, you go in there, you see your Windows OS. So from time to time, it's up to you to check your to do your updates, or you can set your auto update if you want, right? For Windows system, for Linux system, of your administrator would know how to do the security patches.
Yeah. Good. Good.
You
Good.
need to check also your hard disk space. If it's increasing, you need to increase it manually. But we're also saying that there are managed service where Microsoft will take care of all of that for you. It's a managed service where you just come and just bring in your application, install, and leave the rest for Microsoft.
Okay. So in terms of, I just want to get something in terms of update patches and some other things, and in terms of security wise.
Yeah.
What about if there are some update that is not compatible with my application or what I'm hosting with them? Are they going to reverse the update to meet up my demand, or they will stick to it and say, fine, in terms of security, we have to carry out this update on your machine?
Okay. So usually, if like let me give you a scenario that I had. There was a Linux machine that was deployed, and there was an update. It's a Java update, 4JE something something. So Microsoft flagged it, right, and said there is this particular something, it's vulnerable, right? You need to
Yeah.
upgrade your stack. So that's why I said that they have a lot of security specialists at the end that are keeping with the trend, looking for vulnerabilities, and they will quickly alert you to say, this is not vulnerable, you need to update with this, or you need to uninstall something, you know. So if it's the virtual machine, you will take responsibility for uninstalling whatever or implementing the patch. But if it's the managed service, of course, like I said, that is handled on the back end automatically for you.
Okay, would they accept my offer to say, fine, I don't want this update to be carried out, or because of their own security, they have to protect their own environment at the same time? Will they come down to my own level, or they will say, no, this is what we want? I just want to clarify that. Because
No,
if
so
they say it's
so
going to affect my application, if it's affecting my application, I will not accept. But from their end, in terms of security, where they will say, no, standardize, this is what we need these patches to be carried out on your operating system or your machine you have with us. In
yes,
terms of
they would advise you, because that is what they do, to say, look, this, if you try and deploy this thing, it could potentially have this Because it will only affect you, right? Not the entirety of customers that they have on Azure, right? So they can tell you, oh, what you have installed already, because um, they don't have visibility into what you're installing right there and then. But once it's installed, they can see that you've just installed something and this thing is vulnerable, and quickly flag it to tell you you need to apply this update and point you in the right direction, or you uninstall it, right? So that it doesn't affect your own workload and the data that you have there in future, So of course they will advise you accordingly. You get emails on happenings, on trends, on what you can install and what you shouldn't even install. So there are advisory um, um, emails that you'll be getting, from the platform.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other person?
I just want to confirm in terms of licensing, how flexible or how let me use the word cheap is Microsoft compared to other service providers that also provide cloud service. I know one of the issue I know, I can't say maybe now they have changed it before now, is that it has to do with licensing, because as I used to advise, hello.
I can hear you.
Yeah, as I used to advise, Microsoft need to look at their licensing cost, compared to other services like Amazon and Co. Because I know in terms of license, that is one of the difficulty Microsoft is having within this region. I'm not saying maybe the Western world, but in Africa, that is one of the key problems they're having. But also boils down to what is our licenses we are buying here and there from Microsoft, remote desktop connection licenses, and some other things. So they also need to look at the licensing cost, the way they charge guys, particularly in this part of the world we are, Africa.
Okay. So first of all, so let me assume that you're talking about Windows licenses and SQL Server licenses, which are Microsoft's own products, right?
Yeah.
So which are Microsoft products? So who do you think will give you the best deal for using Microsoft product? It will be the company that creates that solution. They are the ones that are able to give you the best cost, because especially if you are running it on their platform, right? They can give you in fact, not that they can give you, they are giving the best cost among the other cloud service, because these other cloud service providers will still need to go to Microsoft and get, the licenses from Microsoft. They have to buy it from them, and then that charge will be brought down to you. But Microsoft has this product, and they can afford to take 20-30% of it compared to other cloud providers that that are there, right? Right, and so it's flexible. You don't need to.
Yeah. Are you guys a direct partner to Microsoft?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Direct partner. Apart from Azure, then there's the modern work M365, licenses for Office Suite and all that, other solutions, Microsoft solutions, Power BI, Power Apps, a whole lot of Microsoft. In fact, all M365 solutions and Office 365 solutions. Yeah, we can help you acquire the license for that. So we're a CSP direct partner.
Okay. That's good. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. I'm looking at the chat now. Is there a question there? Well done, very impressive delivery. Thank you. All right, thank you, Edwin. Thank you so much for the compliments. Much appreciated. Okay, so please, I would implore you to, go back. Maybe you can't take decisions now. It's something that you need to take back to the business. So entirely it's about how you can help the business save money, by leveraging Azure, right? So you can go back and say, oh, we need to do this another way to help us save money. We need to jump on the platform now because that is the way of the future. And really it is, right? Because not only are you able to just host the applications, there are you can use analytics solutions, especially if you are generating data. There are a bunch of analytics solutions available on Azure that you can see insights with, with regards to your business. If you're selling something, if you're generating something, you can use Power BI to visualize your data. Oh, we are making a lot of sales in this state, or we are not making a whole lot of sales in Kaduna. What is happening in Katsina? Why are we selling so much in Katsina and not selling in Kaduna? Why are we doing this here? So you have that in the dashboard. You don't need to start trying to start looking at text, which can become very cumbersome. Just by visualizing, having, a dashboard on your screen in the office, you can just easily, chat will show you what is happening with your data. And as you generate new data, the chart will be changing on the fly, right? And then you'll be able to keep it, your management will also have visibility into that, into those dashboards to be able to make informed decisions, right? You have people in procurement, you have people in financial accounting, marketing, who would have different dashboard that relates to their department, right? And then, of course, they'll be able to make decisions there to say, oh, this is what is happening, right? You also can leverage on artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? There are a bunch of ERP solutions on there. There's so very many things that you can leverage on, right? If you have the chance, you can just Google up Microsoft Azure and just see what they have to offer, right? So many customers that we have today, have positive feedback, and in fact, we get to thank you for introducing to the Azure platform to us. It's saving a lot of businesses, immense money, rather than investing that, as capital on bringing us up on premise and elsewhere. So that's it. If you don't have any question now, you can reach out to myself. I'll tap my email here. It's Ayodele at Lotus Beta Analytics. Alternatively, you can reach out to Ayomide Ajisefini. Ayomide, you want to type your email here, address, or maybe your phone number or something that they can reach you with. I'd be happy to connect with you again and answer other questions. And maybe you look through Azure and then you don't have clarity on some things. I'll be happy to jump on a call with you and your team to help clarify issues. So like I said, we're offering the first month free, zero cost to you, help you do a POC. You see how it works. You're not paying for that first month. That's it. Okay. Ayomide, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodele. It's always nice having you, right? You know the onion in the Azure, you understand the cloud very well. So thank you very much once again. So as going forward, thank you everyone also for being here. Appreciate your presence. And I want to say being on Azure is something that would give you leverage in the cloud, technology-wise, right? So as to the benefits for attending the event is the technical support, consultation for your business, access to cloud PC for remote work experience, and up to 500 USD or cloud credit on Azure. So please let me know if you have any of this as a request. If you want us to speak to maybe management on your behalf for this, if you want to access it for your business, let me also know. Please, you can just drop me a message in the email, or you can just quickly maybe simply respond to the email that you received to or simply, if you have any of this request, as if you want to access any of this, you can just send me a direct email. My email is in the box here. So thank you once again very much for being here. Appreciate once again. I see Mr. John. I see Edwin. I see Chifemeka. I see Lindsay. I see Saidu. Wow. Saidu, happy to see you. I didn't hear it from you today. I hope you're well. I don't know if someone is saying. Okay, Chukwemeka, thank you also. Please let me know if you need that, very, very importantly is the cloud PC. We're offering it as a bonus to everyone who is actually here. So it's something I really want everyone to jump on. It's something very, very nice. Just imagine, the cloud PC for remote work experience. I don't really know if anyone has used it or how the experience is, right? But just give it a try, give it a test, and let's see how it goes. Just do me a request quickly and I'll be back to you. Or any which ways, I'll do an email back to everyone on this call, thanking you for being here. I'll do a personal email. So just know if you have that request, just do it as a response to the email saying, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, and I'll just be with you. So I want to let everyone go right now. Thank you very much once again for really being here and taking out your time to attend this. I hope you've learned a lot. To enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be closing now and the recording will stop. Thank you once again, everyone. Really appreciate every kind gesture shared in the chat. Once again, have a lovely day. See you in the email. Bye bye. Yeah, thank you. I see you. Thank you.